Welcome into episode 13 here on the Bent Family and Friends realm. Well, actually, we're coming from the test world here right now, and I want to talk about hot air balloons. This is going to be the basis of my next couple of episodes, as my main base now is going to be a replica of a launch field. So here on the test world, I figured this was a good spot for me to kind of figure out how I'm going to make it. I've seen a lot of balloons in Minecraft builds, and they tend to be like 10, 15, 20 blocks tall. And it's not quite realistic. So I'm intending to try to make a balloon that's more life size in comparison to scale. So I'm picking a generic size of a hot air balloon right around like a 74-ish cubic. So in general, it's going to be about 55 blocks tall. So I made a circle. I started with a circle. The circle is 55 block circumference. And then I tried to figure out how to shape it at the bottom to make it look realistic. Now, this is a bit surrealistic. A normal balloon is kind of squat at the top because the pressure of gravity pulling down on the top squeezes the bottom down, and it kind of lengthens out this angle. So a real balloon is more of a teardrop, and I tried to do that up here with the diamond blocks. I tried to kind of replicate it, and I couldn't. And then the problem is I can't make a sphere freehand. I need to use an outside app. So if I was to follow this kind of design away from a circle, I would never be able to plot it. So what I did is I decided just to stay with the circle and then just to taper the bottom in a little bit. It probably should be a little bit longer, but the farther down I made it, the more skewed it went. And then so I went from this 2D model and started in on a 3D model to kind of get a sense of scale. And this kind of feels right to me. A human being 2 blocks, 2 meters tall, this kind of reads right to me. This feels like a balloon. Yeah, from looking down inside of it, that kind of actually feels right. So now the problem is try to replicate this in the survival world. So let's get back into the BFF realm and take a look at the Mushroom Island and see where we're going to build this. Back here on the BFF realm now, and we've got a couple things to talk about. So in between episodes, Minecraft has launched its newest update, which gave us 1 player sleep. And 1 player sleep is a huge quality of life upgrade for realms. That means now any of this previous thought of me making farms that you couldn't AFK in the overworld because people couldn't sleep through the night, I can scrap all that. I can start making regular farms again. However, that being said, this update has come with a lot of issues. Maybe it's just specific to this realm, but at least 2 of us have died by going through portals. You'll go through a portal and the next dimension won't load, or you'll load into a wall. Now, I went through to the end and actually it wouldn't load, and I had to reset the game, which in turn lost me all my gear. You can see I've got 13 levels again, and this is all my backup gear. I lost everything, and now with the villager change and you can't get the discounts, it's a huge issue. So right now, I would suggest if you can avoid using random portals, try to, or like pack down your gear until they announce that the bugs are fixed. It's very buggy right now. It's very frustrating. So that being said, well, let's not talk about bugs anymore. We are on my Mushroom Island, and I've been doing some work. I've gone through probably 4 picks worth of, or 4 axes, clearing mushrooms. I've cleared mushrooms from coast to coast, and I've started to fill in holes wherever I can because mushroom islands do tend to have a lot of holes. and try to flatten the ground down a little bit just to try to get a sense of where I want to put things. So what I'm feeling right now is that way is pretty flat and this way is kind of hilly. And this mushroom island is huge. So what I think I'm going to do is this will be like the launch field or the information booth at the launch field. This will be the senior center. Right around here somewhere. This is pretty flat. So this will be like the senior center. And then this will all be launch field. And I think the balloons are just going to travel like... It doesn't matter which way they travel. I think that the balloons will all travel off this way. So this will be a launch field. This will be the center. And then maybe we'll do like the Ferris wheel and the circusy stuff over here. The other thing I've come into realization is that if I were to make my, like, say, storage building inside a hot air balloon, I'm tended to not really use it because then I have to fly up every time. So I'm going to actually move my storage room down into this information booth. And so that won't be this week's build. That will be probably, we'll do one in balloon to get started, and then we'll do the information booth the following week. So week one, I want to get a balloon up. And the balloon is going to be of Stevie and Brad Armstrong. They have several, or two balloons that I know for sure, but we're going to do their newest envelope, the City Auto balloon. And we're going to put that up in the air. I'm just going to pick a spot about here somewhere. Somewhere a bit away from... So the launch field is going to have several balloons laid out inflating. And then we'll just do like a bunch of balloons up in the air. So I want Stevie and Brad's to be the first one. So I'm going to come over about 100 blocks away, actually. So I want to keep them in within render distance, which should be about 200 blocks. So I'm thinking right about here is where I'll go up in the air, and I'll start with laying out the grid work to the balloon, and then we can come back and I'll start filling it in. We'll show you what it looks like from a survival standpoint. Perfect timing now. Let's sleep through the night here and show you the new UI for sleeping through the night. So it is set to one player sleep. Oh yeah. The old zombie horse. Yeah, the new UI is pretty cool. I like that. Sleeping through the night. So for their balloon, I've got 3 of the 4 sides done in this red terracotta because the City Auto balloon is kind of like a burnt orangey red. But then this third side, or the fourth side, is white. So I now have to kind of figure out how to lay out that collar. And looking at the balloon from the side view, the white actually forms like a circle. And the easiest way to do it is if you're looking at the balloon directly from underneath, the black or the white actually looks like it's dead straight. So if I pick from like here and go white all the way up and around up until it matches up that distance from center, I should be able to follow the color. Now what I'll have to probably do when I'm actually filling it in is just pick an X coordinate and trace it around and do it that way. But I think for filling it, I'll try to just like get it roughly white and then fill it in after. So I think I'll go up like 2 more blocks and start filling it in with white. So let's get this kind of filled in and then go from there. Now that we're getting into the build here a little bit, you might ask yourself, well, it does look kind of like a Pokeball here from now. But you might ask yourself, why am I starting with Stevie and Brad's balloon? Well, Stevie I've known for many years now. It goes back to, I believe, her first job when she was about 16 was a cashier at the local grocery store where I worked. So I've known Stevie for many, many, many years. And then Stevie grew up and started dating and marrying a high school boyfriend who turned out to be a hot air balloonist. And my wife, I think I've said before, has been a member of the ballooning community here in Sussex for since she was about 6 years old. And she started to crew for Stevie and Brad on occasion when they've gone to a balloon festival in Bath, which is a local community. And so I felt this would be a good place to start for me for building. This balloon, their newest envelope, the City Auto funded balloon, is a relatively easy build to make. I just have to basically do 90% this orangey red, and then I have to figure out their logo for the side. But that's the whole reason with Stevie and Brad. Stevie's also my hairdresser. I go there all the time for her. Her daughter Charlotte is getting older by the day, and her husband Brad is the pilot. So if you're ever in the Sussex area and you need a flight, especially off festival, check out their Facebook page. I'll link that in the description. And if you ever need a flight, give them a chance, give them a little bit of leeway or head time, and if you want a flight. But if their weather is good, they're flying, and you might see me there helping. Anyway, let's get back to the build. Let's try to get this knocked out here a little bit, and get to the point where we can do the actual design of the logo on the side too. And that's another thing. The logo, the City Auto, is my dear neighbor's work at City Auto, who is the sponsor of this balloon. So everything in a small community kind of like leads itself to each other. But yeah, let's keep going further on this build and we'll come back to it. Well, we have finally finished the envelope of the balloon, and I've done it here live on Twitch with some help. And it's a little dark, so I need to find some way to light it up. But that is pretty much the balloon, less the logo. So there will be a City Auto logo on this side, and then again on that side. And that is pretty well the balloon. So it's kind of hard to read because I do want them to have different elevations. So this one's up in the air, but that's the general shape and size that I was looking for. And this is going to be so cool when there's a bunch of these around. So you can see it's a sphere from here up, and then from here down I just tapered it down. And we still have to put the basket on here. But the basket's going to go right here, suspended by the envelope. And I think it has to go down maybe a block or two more. But this goes to the next part of the episode, is what to do with all this space. Because there's a lot of space in here. A lot of space. So what I've decided to do is to start including things that I don't have farms for. I originally thought about doing a storage room in here, although there's more than enough space. It's not really the most functional space to get in and out of all the time. If I'm going to use this every day, I wanted something a bit more convenient. This, however, is going to be a perfect spot for a bee farm. So let's work on the bee farm layout next, and I'll show you what I want to do there. Well, I better show you what I'm doing now before I get too far into this. So you're going to imagine a cage where there's going to be glass here keeping the bees in. The bees all have a flower to go eat from or make pollen at. And then the problem with bedrock is I can't put the actual bee's nest here. Because in bedrock, bees can't pathfind through the flower. You think of any animal that could, bee or mob a bee would, but they can't. So you need to have a block of space. So what I do for pickup is I have hoppers picking up all the drops and then funneling into here. And here is going to be a dropper that I will power with a comparator in negative mode. And if it sees anything here, it'll just spit it out. That's not the big deal. So what's going to happen is I have hopper minecarts hiding inside of this block, and there's, as you see, there's hoppers underneath of it. I'm going to have a hopper minecart occupying this space. Okay? The bee's nest is here. I'll be able to put redstone off the back of it so that every time that this bee's nest is completely full, the redstone will power a dispenser that shears the nest and then spits it out here. So what this all means is that I need to bury hopper minecarts into that space. So what I do is I put rail here, and I set a minecart in, and it falls into the dirt. And you might have to nudge it a little bit, but then you can usually place a block in that space to lock it in. And I'll follow this down, put a minecart on. I've got a hopper minecart that occupies that space. And again, I have to push it a little bit. And now anything that falls into that area automatically gets picked up by the hoppers underneath. So the next step, whoa, is to get another minecart. I'm going to get this farm all buttoned up, and then I'll come back and show you the redstone for it. The other thing is I don't have enough bees yet, so I want to get this kind of squared off so that I can get the bees to multiply and fill the nest up. So I'll come back after the nests are all in place. I jumped into creative here for a while to try to figure out how to do the font for the balloon. And my first attempt was this single line pass, and it's kind of hard to read. And it doesn't really match the font style at all. So I switched to this wider style, which actually is pretty close to the actual design. But the problem is I'm like 3 blocks too wide to fit on the actual balloon. So the balloon is 55 diameter, or 55 around, and this is actually like closer to 60. So I think I'm gonna have to get rid of these wings so that they're not I can save that much space. And then between city and auto, if I get rid of these 2 blocks and then move this all over too, that should save me 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 blocks. So that should make it fit. So I'm going to keep fine-tuning this a little bit just so I have a plan in place. And then I have to get up in the air and try to put it on the balloon back in the regular world. So give me a second to get this mocked up. Well, there we go. That's a little bit smaller. That should fit. This was never going to work. It just doesn't look right. And it doesn't have to be spot on perfect because I don't have license to put somebody else's logo on. So the fact that it's a little bit different is probably fine. It's still going to be plenty readable. So now I'm going to have to draw this out by hand so that I can copy it into the world. Find the center point and blah, 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 all that. So let me get this drawn out, and like I said, we'll meet you back at the actual balloon. So far, it's pretty hard to tell what I'm doing up this close. I'm trying. I've got it all written down on graph paper, actually. But let's try to get a bit of ways and see if it's starting to look like. I started with the A in auto. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to read because it's on an angle. And I understood that. It's not real life. But it's going to work. I think it's going to work. Let me get the rest of it done. And actually, I've got a little bit of space to put wings on here on the end, too. So I can come back and do that. Cool. If I can land up here on the... No. Okay. I'll be right back. Well, I'm actually really happy with the way things have turned out here. If I can get up in the sky a little bit and turn around. I've got the little wings on the side. They're kind of small. I guess they could be bigger. But yeah, no, it looks like City Auto. And maybe the scope and the scale of it's a little bit off, but it's hard to get it exactly right. I mean, that looks like City Auto. Cool, now I have to go around here and do it on the red side too, because it's on both sides. But I need some more blocks. I need to get that done, and then I need to come down here and actually design and put on a basket. Because in the meantime, what I've done is I've made the bee farm. As you can see, it's been working in the background. I've got almost a full inventory from just here. So if I can get up here and look at it, I went with an old design by, oh shoot, by Prowl, I think it was. Yeah, by Prowl. And so what it is there is a bee's nest with an observer looking at it. Every time the observer sees a bee come in and go out of the bee's nest, it powers this block. Every time that block is powered, these little trapdoors flip up. You see that? Every time those trapdoors flip up, the second observer sees it and powers the dispenser behind it to dispense shears. And the shears will only work if the bee's nest is completely full. The problem with this farm, and the problem with any farm that has dispensers in it, is after it dispenses, the thing that gets cut or created ends up in kind of random places. So this farm is not lossless at all. You'll see like there's a bunch there, but there's also, it's quite productive. I have it set up right now just for honeycombs. In the future, if I want honey, I just have to come back through and put bottles in the dispensers instead of shears. But the way I have this all set up as well is down here there's a little comparator clock. If I can get over here. No. So here there's a comparator clock. I've got all these hoppers are going into the dispenser. So all the honeycomb should get pulled into that dispenser. But there's a comparator reading the power from this block. And every time that there's something in that dropper, this gets powered, which then causes this to cause a clock to power this block. And when this block gets powered, it powers the dispenser to shoot out more honeycomb. And so the pickup for this farm is going to be in the basket of the balloon. So you can see the vast majority of the honeycombs get spit out right here. And I just have to continue this little glass tube down a little bit farther, but the honeycomb gets spit right out. Like that. So maybe I'll just, the basket will be like hoppers and some barrels, basically. And so you can see the City Auto from the inside. It's kind of dark, but yeah, you can kind of read it from the inside. There's still all kinds of room. Like, this is a very small farm for the inside of this balloon, but this will be plenty. Let me get the other City Auto logo on over here and get the basket on, and we'll call this episode done. Well, I've been doing this now on Twitch for a little while, and I had to take a break and walk the dog because she was losing her mind. But I now have the City Auto logo done on the white side, and then actually you can read it from the ground. And then I've done the, I just finished the red side. And actually, it looks really good in flight, actually. I was quite surprised at how well it turned out. If I can see what's happening here. What? Yeah, it reads a little bit hard on the edges. But it's really cool if I can get down here a little bit and see it. I did put this balloon a little bit far up in the air to see it too well. But yeah, maybe the boys at City Auto will give me a free oil change someday. But now it's to get the basket put on and collection put in for the bee farm. And I don't have this design yet, so I grabbed a bunch of trapdoors and chains and ropes and stuff. And let's see what I can do here and get this sorted out. Well, we got a basket put on the balloon here on Twitch. It's a first rendering. It's really kind of square and derpy, and it's not going to be here like that forever. I need to find a way to make it a bit more fancy. Like there's just a campfire floating in the air. But there's storage here for the farm now. All the drops can just get dropped into here. So I just put a wall of hoppers right underneath of the barrels. So it's just going to fill up over time. So this isn't going to be the most productive farm. It's just going to allow me to have a bit of backstock to basically face up copper if I want to make sure the copper doesn't get converted. Oh, you can hide under here. So yeah, the baskets will change over time. Once I get more balloons done and a better idea of how it feels and how to work it, I can come back here anytime and edit it. But for now, that will be the end of the episode. Plans for next week will be to start a storage building. And for that, we're going to go up here on the top of this hill, and I might need to make a bit more space. But I'm going to try to replicate the train station in town. It's a fantastic old building, very architecturally interesting. And I'm going to put it up here, and this will be the base of operations. I can start moving all my storage units or storage supplies over into here. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.